Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth and Story, and I am here to do a walkthrough of the beautiful Spirit of the Animals Oracles by Jody Bergsma. Now, yes, I have other decks out here. I had first purchased her Magical Times Empowerment cards just because I love her artwork. She has a YouTube channel. I don't think it's overly active. I'll put a link to that below. But I have seen her actually, paint and do paintings, and I just really love her, watching her create her art. So I had purchased this particular deck to use. I have certain times of the year that I know are more difficult, just in terms of grief and things of that nature, and so I had picked this up on one of those months. I don't remember if it was my son's birth month. I'm thinking it was maybe last March. I don't think it was this March, but maybe last March or last December. I can't remember. I picked it up for that specific purpose, and I have to say it was really encouraging. It's definitely an affirmation style deck. It's definitely there to be supportive energy. But again, absolutely love her artwork. So I have that one of hers, which is by US Games as well. Has this kind of, I have a walkthrough of this. I will put a link to in the description. The one I think that I first actually saw her artwork in a deck was in the Spirit of the Wheel meditation deck. This deck was created by Linda Iwashina, but the illustrations are by Jody Bergsma. Now, I haven't had this for very long, and I haven't actually worked with it yet. I've been working with it in terms of, sorry, I'm grabbing some stuff over here in my pile. You can set all the cards out in a wheel, which I have done. So I've kind of sat with all of the positionings and the moons and things of that nature. There was a error in the guidebook, but they allow you to print it off. So I have been working with it in that sense, but I haven't been working with it to pull readings yet. And I haven't done a walkthrough because I wanted to do a more kind of getting all of, there's different parts to this. Not kind of like suits, but again, artwork wise, I just really love her artwork. She does a lot of animals in her decks, and so her artwork is just stunning. So this is on my list, sitting on my table to do a walkthrough of. Like I said, I wanted to kind of suss out all of the parts and pieces of the way that the deck works before I had done a review, so it could be thorough. So this one is coming. But again, just love the artwork. So I think I was talking about how this was a deck that I was working on to do a walkthrough of. And Miss Auset, who has a YouTube channel has a YouTube channel here, said, "Oh, are you talking about the Spirit of the Animals Oracle?" And I was like, "Well, it's an Animals Oracle, but it's not. It's actually called Spirit of the Wheel." And she's like, "Oh, no, there's actually a Spirit of the Animals Oracle that just came out," which I had not even heard of. I don't know how I had not heard of it, because I love her artwork. I don't know. I had not heard of it. And so it's not available in the United States Amazon yet, but Auset works at a metaphysical shop. I'll put a link to it below. And they had a couple copies in, and so I literally got off live chat and called the shop and ordered a copy of this, because it's the only other one I don't have of her artwork, and so it was a no-brainer. It's an animal deck, no-brainer. So again, this is called Spirit of the Animals Oracle by Jody Bergsma. So this doesn't seem to have a separate creator, but we'll see when we look inside. This is another US Games, but can we just talk about how, all of I think everybody's really stepping up their production games, but I feel like US Games, I just feel like US Games used to always just be tuck boxy things, and now like their stuff is really rivaling like Blue Angel and things of that nature. Although I don't think their card stock is quite as good as Blue Angel, but but it's kind of a beautiful matte feel, so it's like a trade-off. But yeah, I mean, box-wise, it's all this beautiful matte. The color saturation, which is so important with her artwork, is on point. It's just really beautifully done. Beautifully, beautifully packaged. I was quite pleased to see that. And again, it's all this lovely matte. It does come with a guidebook inside with not color, but really nice large illustrations, excuse me, which we'll look at in a second. And it does come with one of these. Now, I'm not a fan of these kinds of things. I just feel like they're a little bit of a waste of money, but maybe other people actually use it. So this is like a poster that has a spread, which it does talk about in the guidebook, thankfully. Although I don't think it has like an illustration of what the spread looks like. So, I mean, it's really beautiful. Like, it has all of her artwork on it and everything, but I just don't know that people actually use these. Like, they never lay flat. This is a spread that's made for you to sit on the floor and kind of lay the cards around you. So that's kind of the purpose of this spread. So I just don't, this kind of stuff I just feel like is a bit of a waste, even though it's gorgeous. And there may be other people, and you know, you could tell me wrong and say I absolutely love these things, but I do not. I feel like they're a total waste of money. You can see that the box is a little bit wonky in the papering, but I mean, that kind of stuff is minor to me. It's a nice sturdy box, and it is nicely matte, and so I am quite happy with that. So that's that. Nice big cards. I'm trying to see an example. This is Sacred Earth, which I think might be Blue Angel. This is smaller. These do seem like quite large cards. So I guess I should get something. This is not Animal Medicine. This is Shamanic Medicine, which is a Blue Angel card. So you can see it's quite large. I think Blue Angel makes a really good size Oracle deck. So this is definitely larger than that. This is the Mystical Shaman, which is smaller. So a couple tiers here. Now I will say, to me, this Blue Angel, not all, but this matte cardstock that is of this Animal Medicine and the same cardstock that is this Mystical Shaman, to me is perfection. It's the perfect weight. It's the perfect silky matte. It's just gorgeous, gorgeous cardstock. This is definitely not that. This is definitely thinner cardstock, and it's definitely not as matte, but it does feel nice. Like, if this was in a tarot size, it's a really good cardstock, but once you start to get larger like this, it gets more flimsy. If it's thin, the larger it gets. So this is definitely not thick, but I don't mind it. And I'm sure it's going to shuffle lovely, but this, like, is perfection. So they're getting there. And I will say, in all fairness, the price point for the Mystical Shaman was much higher. And so it's just sort of that trade-off with mass market decks. Do we want things starting to push close to the indie amount of money, but get the gorgeous cardstock and everything, which I'm happy to pay, or if we want to keep things at a little cheaper, then things are going to be a little bit thinner. So anyway, so that's it for cardstock, but not bad whatsoever. The book, as you can see, is beautifully bound. It has the insignia that's on the back here, which I like. It kind of has that feeling of the 4 directions, the 4 elements, and all of that kind of combined to it. So I do quite like that. There is no US Games copyright on here at all, which is wonderful. It's on the back of the book, but that makes sense. Has a little bit about Jody Bergsma, and most of the deck, it does talk a little bit at the beginning. It has a quote by Fool's Crow, the ceremonial chief of the Teton Sioux. The power and ways are given to us to be passed on to others. We get more by giving them away, and if we do not give them away, we lose them. She gives some acknowledgments. I quite like the mix. We have her first native teacher, Grey Wolf, also old Chinese Chung Fu, who introduced me to the wisdom of Tao, which taught her that everything you need to know can be learned from observing nature. And then to Tara McKee, who apparently helped with editing and graphics and things of that nature. To her daughter, Lily Sky, which is lovely. And then she goes on to talk a little bit about what are animal totems and these types of things. Preparing. There are contrary meanings, so you can use reversals if you would like. And or just if asking yourself, what could the shadow side of this be, depending on what your question is. So she talks a little bit about that. There is one card in here that is not an animal. It's a personal choice. So sort of like a wild card, she calls it. So that if you pull this, kind of sit with yourself and see what animal is coming forward for you personally that may not be even in the deck. She talks about the medicine reel spread and then the power animal spread, which is the 9 card, and that's the one that she suggests. It talks about how exactly to lay that out, but it doesn't have a visual. I wish they had put a visual in here for that, because I would never use the paper. So I'll probably draw a little, like in the back here, I'll probably draw that visual out just so it's in the guidebook. She has a Lakota prayer here. Great mystery, teach me how to trust my heart, my mind, my intuition, my inner knowing, the senses of my body, the blessings of my spirit. Teach me to trust these things so that I may enter my sacred space and love beyond my fear, and thus walk in balance with the passing of each glorious sun. And then it goes into where we have the name of the animal, keywords, an image of the card, so it's the full card with the name, the main keyword, and the affirmation there. And then she goes on to talk a little bit about it, and then it has the contrary. So we have that for each of the cards, and there are 51 animal spirit cards and 1 personal choice, that wild card. So let's just real quick do an example of what a full guide will look like. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom you in on these really beautiful cards. And again, this is going to definitely be in what I would say is the affirmation or the empowerment or the support end of decks, because these are animals that are spirits. These are animal totems. These are animal energies that are coming out to work with you, and their purpose is to challenge you and to support you. And so the messages are going to be of a supportive nature, and I certainly expect that with this. But I do like that at least there is that contrary section that would say, why perhaps would this be coming out problematically? So here we have the B card. These are alphabetical, I should say, in the book, which I appreciate. Very quick to find if you're looking for it in the guidebook. You can see there is a light border around the cards, but it is just a it's just a slight shadow. You can still see the image. It's just almost the shadow of a border, and I think it looks really lovely. So the B here, we have the keywords of community, cooperation, hardworking, diligent, royal, kingdom, family order, love charm, success, sexual, and stinger. The card itself says, be community. You are a powerful creator. Your work blesses everything you touch. Be open to receiving sweetness. You are the queen of abundance. So I do think it gets a little bit messy here with the font and at least this particular sunflower. So even not having this beveled edge and maybe having that shadow over the word would have let that stand out, but then you would lose what feels like a full card image. So those are trade-offs that you make, right, when you're trying to. I struggled a lot with getting titles to work even on my Lenormand deck with, depending on the details and or the colors that were there. And so I can certainly, there were a few that really were a struggle that I ended up repainting, because again, mine weren't detailed like this, but I ended up repainting to be able to keep that aesthetic. So that, I do think it's gorgeous having this full-size image, and you can certainly make it out. It just gets a little bit busy, at least on this card. So I'm going to go ahead and read the full text so that you can get a feel for what our text might be. Bees are honored as a good omen for success and powerful symbol for royal families throughout the world. Life in the hive represents the harmonious kingdom. Bees characterize meaningful communal activity, hard work, and diligence. Bee can be a great friend, but misfortune will come to those who harm the hive. Their stingers are always ready to protect. All bees are pollinators, and they are considered to be the most useful insect in nature. They are productive, focused, and do not get sidetracked from their goals. Bee reminds us that joy, purpose, and the sweetness in life can be found in cooperative work for bettering the world. Because of bees' many industrious traits, they represent good fortune in business matters. Adopt bee as your personal symbol for a never-ending creation of abundance. If bee is your totem, you are on a beeline to success. Like the mysterious bee in flight, you will accomplish what others cannot. You're busy as a bee, in quotes, nature brings unfailing energy, robust health, and longevity. Embrace the bee's life secret. Be productive while the sun shines. Become fully engaged in your creative endeavors and enjoy the flowers. Do these and all good things will be yours. Again, I think that you can do all the right things, and sometimes all good things are not yours, but I'm accepting that this is a supportive energy in a perfect world with this energy of these animals behind you. The contrary has kind of a list of, or a couple questions or things to think about. If this comes up, do you need to focus your efforts to create more success? Do you have a bee in your bonnet and need fresh air for your mind? So it's kind of using the cliches like a beeline and busy as a bee and bee in your bonnet here. Beware of those bear people who would try to steal your sweetness. So beware, because if you have abundance, or you're working hard towards abundance, there are going to be things in nature and people who will want to take that from you. And it may come out when you simply need to be more industrious. So it does give you a little bit of way of thinking about how this might be showing up in a way to support something that you might be lacking, which is, I think, very often the case. So there we go. That is just sort of a look at, or a listen through of what the guidebook, for some people who do like to see what the guidebook means. I think personally there's quite enough with the beautiful imagery. You have the name of the animal, you have a keyword, and then you have on the deck, or it's on the card itself, I think enough information that you probably wouldn't have to go back to the guidebook very often, and some people just enjoy it. So there's certainly more here. There's a lot more keywords, but I think there's plenty to work with without having to be glued to the guidebook if you're not interested in that, or if you already have, like I have a lot of animal decks. I've worked a lot with animal totem energy and studying and things of that nature, so I feel like I could be pretty confident with most of these animals, to kind of what I've come to see them as well. So, but it's nice that at least that is there for some more keywords and things if you're trying to see how this might work for you. So that's the guidebook. And we'll just keep going through the cards. Again, artwork is stunning. I mean, I don't think there's anything to say about the artwork other than it's gorgeous. So now you can see a little bit what I was talking about. This lends itself to being really clear with the text. This lends itself to being a slightly busier and a little bit harder to read without my glasses anyway. So let me show you the backs up close. I think the backs are gorgeous. They are not reversible. Obviously, on the back you would know if it was upside down. Again, that never, even if I used reversals, that doesn't matter to me because of the way that I split. But people do like to know that. But it is gorgeous. So here we have a bison for abundance. Sacred buffalo, cloak me in your wisdom. Keep me warm through the storms of life. Fill my life with goodness. Teach me the way of gratitude and prayer. You can definitely see, even though it's not billed as a Native American deck, such as, for example, the spirit of the wheel is very clearly based on the the medicine wheel, the Native American medicine wheel. And they do talk about this, and that there are different associations that certain tribes and things will have. There isn't one way to do anything. It's one of the problems with accessing Native American culture without context, is that Native Americans are not one tribe. There are many different cultures with many different languages and many different associations. Now, they do have some things that also overlap, but that is addressed in the book itself. But my point is that this deck is very clearly directed as focusing on the medicine wheel in terms of Native American ideology. This deck is very clearly more of a affirmation, empowerment, focused around fairies, right, and animals. Whereas this one seems to simply be spirit animals. And again, not everybody who works with totem animals are working it from a Native American mindset. Many cultures use, and she talks about it in the guidebook, many cultures use the idea of totem animals, spirit animals, work with animals, however you might want to call that. You certainly see that in Celtic tradition with both just animals in general, as well as shape-shifting in animals, and these types of things are part of the Celtic tradition as well. So that's not something that is just to Native American, but I would say nothing on here really speaks to this being Native American focused, but you can see that is certainly part of her influence. And she did thank teachers that she had that were clearly Native American. But just the idea of the sacred buffalo, right, and the power and the gratitude that needed to be offered to a creature that sustained entire tribes in terms of food and shelter and clothing and warmth and tools and everything. And so you can see that a little bit in the language here. Here we have the beautiful, look at that black bear. I will say a lot of chickadees, which I adore because chickadees are one of my favorite birds, and certainly a bird that I do connect with Michael, along with hummingbirds and really any birds. But certainly chickadees are one that I actually have a hand-turned pottery urn that is Michael's that has a chickadee on it. So I noticed chickadees, and there seems to be quite a few of them, which makes me happy. So we have black bear as guardian, as a gentle and wise protector. But look at Mama Bear overlooking and taking care of her little bear there. I really love this black jaguar because he's so dark in tone. Just in person, if you'll see it, he almost does look like part of the shadows, which is gorgeous. And this is as the old soul. Walk through life with confidence and grace. You have power from beyond the world. Focus on what you really want. You can create your dreams. Beautiful. Butterfly, of course, for rebirth. Cat. So I love that she uses the keyword independent for cats. Sometimes even in animal decks that tend to be spirit based, right, or totem based, you do see sometimes negative keywords always associated with cats. Now, sometimes cats can be very much pains in the butt, right? But I definitely always think of somebody who is quite independent. And so I like that this touches on that independence, the healing, the intuitiveness, but also that idea of not just going with the crowd. They're going to go their own way. And so I think that's really great for obviously people who really associate strongly with cats. There's actually quite a few cat energy cards here are in this deck. We have the beautiful Cougar for being assertive. And I'm not going to read all of these. I'm just kind of giving you a feel for her art style is often almost not stained glass like this. You don't see it as much in, but a lot of times you get this really distinct color stripings, which are almost have a beautiful but more natural stained glass feel that are just gorgeous. Just in terms of artistry, I just really love her animals. So assertiveness, leadership, taking action. Here we have a gorgeous coyote. I mean, look at that coyote. It's just beautiful. revealer of truth, and does talk about not, oftentimes Coyote's trickster energy, and it's about not taking things too seriously, does have the idea of laughter and play, but being aware of traps and tricks as well. So you kind of get both sides of Coyote energy there. You look at that beautiful, again, there's the chickadees. Absolutely gorgeous deer, that gentle energy of love, and sweetness, and even vulnerability. It's just beautiful. The artwork is stunning. Then we have, of course, a dog. So for those cat lovers out there, we have cats. And then for those like me, I don't know that I'm necessarily a dog lover, although I do love dogs. But I am more of an Isabel lover. So Isabel just happens to be a dog. But I love this, for this idea of friend, this unconditional love. I think anybody who's had a dog, I've had both cats. I've always had cats up until probably 6 years ago, and then I haven't, and I've always had dogs as well. And there is a difference between the two. There is an independence, and yes, a love from cats, but it is much more on their terms and much more reserved depending on the cat. I've had multiple kinds, right? They have different personalities. But in general, if you if you give a dog love, in general, they just unconditionally give you love back in a way that is such a powerful lesson, and I think that that is so sweet. We have dolphins for play. It's hard to not think of them. I also think of dolphins with intelligence, play, communication, aid. They often give aid to people in the water and things of that nature. I know that we always go to play with dolphins, and I think that that is a completely appropriate keyword, but I think there is so much depth to the quality that is there for dolphins, and there's so much beyond that as well. It's a very beautiful energy. I love that there's a dragon. There are a couple supernatural creatures, which is lovely. I've been working on my deck structure, and I do, one of the things that I'm doing is a phoenix. And I was like, well, should I really have a phoenix? Because, that's not a real animal. And I'm like, no, it's real to me. And so are dragons. So I love that that was in here. The supernatural, ancient and wise sage, which is definitely how I see dragons. So I quite love that. The dragonfly for magic and transformation. It's beautiful. Of course, that's on the box cover. Love anything with lotuses. Beautiful eagle card. I just think that's stunning. Mastery, guided by the winds of spirit, wisdom. It's just a beautiful. For me, eagles are about mastery. They're about clarity. They're about clear sight. They're about the height that's sometimes needed to really see through to a situation. It's just beautiful. Look at the elephant for greatness. Love is your strength. Leadership is your path. Your wisdom inspires everyone you meet. You can overcome any problem. You will naturally and easily achieve success. I don't know so much about, I don't think very many people naturally and easily achieve things. I think it's actually a lot more work than maybe it might appear. But I do love the love is your strength, and leadership is your path, and wisdom is your inspiration. That's beautiful. Love these elks with nobility. That's just such a classic looking, with the mountains and the aurora borealis or something in the back, and the it's just beautiful. That nobility certainly stands out. Love the fox. Love the fox. Gotta have a fox, right? And I love that it's cleverness. Swift and smart. Solutions to problems are easily found. Always listen to your instincts. Resources surround you, and being open to romance is thrown in there. That's interesting. But I guess the fiery redheadedness. But I do really love this. I think that this idea of being smart and thinking outside of the box is really how I use foxes in Lenormand. So it's beautiful. If you are not following Juniper on Instagram, I don't know what you're thinking. Go follow Jen. I can't remember the whole Instagram. I'll try to remember to put a link, or at least the name of it below. But Juniper is a fox. If you search Juniper on Instagram, you will see a fox Instagram account, and just follow that. Here we have Frog for prosperity, letting go of the past, embracing change. Again, there is definitely this idea of change and transformation with frogs. Sometimes you do get keywords of healing. I often actually think of frogs in terms of healing. Of course, many of these kinds of things can overlap, so you as a creator have to sort of pick which ones you're going to focus on. But beautiful frogs, look like tree frogs. Look at those. I mean, look at those beautiful giraffes. Visionary, because you can see up above the clouds. You're able to see the right path. Oh, stand tall in your self-worth and love with a big heart. See, again, this style, I really do. I love all of it. Like, there's not one image that I would say I don't like. But there is this kind of more watercolor painting style, and then she has this beautiful more stylized and a little bit more of that stained glass feel, like this, where you can see the very defined. She uses different weights of color to create these almost a striped effect that I think is just beautiful. Like both styles are gorgeous, and they don't feel jarring, right? Those cards don't at all feel jarring next to each other, even though in many ways they're a different art style, and even some that have a little bit more geometric shapes. I know the wolf had, even that's that stylized look. So I like that you can see her different ways of expressing her art, but that it all flows together and doesn't feel like different decks thrown together. So here we have the goose for inner knowing. Look at the bear. Oh, love this. You can't see it, but I'll show. I need to keep out my totems, although they're kind of split between the black bear, because I do think of the bear as power with the grizzly bear energy that I work with, but the protector is so strong in mine. So this one feels more like visually what my bear animal would be look like, but the keywords and things for the black bear also go. Here we have the gorgeous hawk for messenger, which you often see the hawk associated with messenger energy. Again, clarity, focus. It's beautiful. Look at those gorgeous herons for patience, stillness, renewal, balance. The horse for freedom. You follow the winds of change and accomplish your dreams. Look at those beautiful horses. Hummingbirds, of course, I love. Who doesn't love a hummingbird? In our area, we can certainly put out feeders and get them to come up very close and be able to watch them. And I do think hummingbirds are one of the most amazing little birds. There's some that are so tiny, and when you see the babies, even of the little bit larger size, we're still talking about small adults, and then their little babies look like bees. It's really amazing to see in person. Michael definitely liked to draw and color hummingbirds. There's actually 2 whales in this deck, which I thought was interesting. But I love the call, or the singer, the name of singer for the humpback whale, sending healing songs for the world. I mean, there is something amazing when you listen to recordings of humpback whale singing that it's so eerie and powerful. Ladybug. I told my friend Bart today, I always think of him when I see ladybugs. I think because he has a little ladybug oracle deck that he just loves so much, and then somehow that's got stuck. So now every time I see a ladybug in a deck or in person, I always think of Mr. Bartek. And he is a bright energy. Here we have a lion. This large lion makes me smile. He looks a little bit electrocuted, like he got his little zap of energy there. That fire energy in him is crackling in his hair. higher calling, the courage, letting go of past, reclaiming majesty. Beautiful. The lizard for regeneration. There are certain lizards, and I'm assuming this is one, that can like lose their tail and regrow it. So that idea of regeneration is powerful. We have the loon for intuitive. Listen to the song in your soul. Trust your intuition. Look at the little baby loons. The cry of a loon. I don't know if you've ever heard the cry of a loon, but that's also very beautiful. Here we have the lynx as the keeper of secrets. Again, see how we now, so I have some that have more of that Native American stylized geometric energy on some of hers. That's certainly a powerful aspect of her art in general, and so it shows up. But again, it doesn't, to me, feel jarring to the cards that have none of that in there. Like, it all does seem to, because her color palettes are so beautiful, to me, the deck still feels very cohesive. Beautiful moose for wisdom. The ancestors speak through you, you know much. So then we have the other whale, which was the Orca Whale for adventure. Dare to do things differently. She does talk a lot about the songs in certain energies. Some of the birds, which makes sense, and certainly the whales, which again makes sense when you listen to whale songs. But there is a sense of power and adventure in orcas. Beautiful owl. I do quite like the geometric shape, again, that's pulled in here. I don't feel like it interrupts the flow, but it looks really powerful. You definitely see, like, okay, from the distance he looks really intense, and then when in that close-up you can really see the intensity, which is powerful. Seeing through deception, know the truth because you can. A lot of letting go of the past. That seems to be a reoccurrent theme. But there's enough that's going on here. And then again, you have all of the keywords that are in the guidebook as well to go even deeper. That that kind of stuff doesn't bother me as much because I just kind of can go with whatever pops out. And sometimes when you have, I found, I never used to like any kind of text on cards, and it's still not my preference. I would prefer, let's say, just owl and magic, and that would be fine for me to have the kind of the animal and the keyword. But I will say that decks that I have that have text, I do find often become part of the oracle, in the sense that if I lay it down in a reading, a specific word might pop through, like, let's say, deception. Then for whatever reason, that in the course of the reading, in the course of the question, that hops out as really significant. It doesn't matter if the whole thing does or not, but certain words or phrases might pop out as being more important and become part of the message. So it does, I don't tend to, this doesn't bother me as much, even though my preference, again, would be not to have that text there. Peacock for vibrancy. Makes sense. You were born to shine. I'm pretty sure male peacocks believe in their heart for sure that they were born to shine. Look, oh, can you just not stand how adorable baby penguins are? Authentic. Reach out to your tribe in times of need. Family gives you strength when you face the storm. Love your uniqueness. You are full of surprises. Break free from others' expectations and just be yourself. So I do like that. Of course, this idea of authenticity is making its way all around the community. Some in really interesting ways, some in really powerful ways, some in ways that I do find to be problematic. But that's a whole video of itself. But what I like is that in a keyword of authenticity, it's about breaking away from what anybody else might expect from you. Other people's expectations have nothing to do with your authenticity. And so I really like that this card addresses that. This is the personal choice card. So you could leave this out, right? If you just want an animal deck. I'm not sure that I would leave this in here, but maybe I would, because I'll see how it works in terms of reading. But if this comes up, the suggestion is to literally, it says on there, close your eyes. What is the animal that you imagine? So if you're entering, almost like, you're entering into this wooded area here around this lake and under this mountain, you're stepping into this scenery. What is the animal that's going to meet you? in that space. So I think that could be very powerful. And look how beautiful this polar bear card is. Mystic. Know that challenges make you stronger. Have faith when you face adversity. Take time to rest, dream, and renew your strength. Embrace your psychic abilities. You carry the shaman within. That's really gorgeous and powerful. I love this more realistic, so to speak, polar bear, and then the more stylized polar bear right here, and then almost the carving of the snout of a polar bear. So you've got different levels of realism, I suppose, but it looks really beautiful together. A pronghorn for action. This is that idea of quick action that you can think of with these types of animals. Keen wit, quick, paying attention, being very diligent about knowing your surroundings so you can react quickly. Puffins for partnership. Let your community nourish and protect you. Ask for help. Teamwork will give you the best results. Look at the little raccoons. I love, you normally see things like thief or that type of stuff, and I love that we have raccoon here as inventor. But it does bring in the trickster area. Avoid being the trickster and practice integrity. You have many roles and can juggle them well, because raccoons can definitely get up to some trouble. The beautiful and powerful ram energy for perseverance, which I think is really powerful when you see some of these on the sides of mountains and things of that nature. The sure-footedness and such, and perseverance in crazy weather, like stuck to the side of the mountain. So that works really well. Of course, when you see your own animal energies, you get excited, and I'm not disappointed by Raven as being the shaman. You are the creator and magician. Use your gifts for good. There is power in your wisdom and words. Connect with the elemental spirits and glide through the void. Claim your place as the keeper of the mystery. So I think that's beautiful, because we definitely have with Raven energy that idea of kind of crossing the boundaries back and forth and bringing messages from the other world. Excuse me. Here we have the beautiful sea otters. This is one of my favorite animals. When I was younger, especially, these were probably my absolute favorite animals, other than maybe wolves. There is a playfulness and a joy in watching otters play, and the nurturing that you can see as well. I just love watching videos of otters. Love sea turtles. I like it for protection, because you're kind of carrying your protection on your back, right? You are the master of finding life's flow. That's for sure. Gorgeous. I want to see if that's the same keyword as the black bear. I can't remember. Snow leopard for self-reliance. I love this because you have this very regal, calm looking one here, but then here you've got one that is on the prowl. It's like, don't mistake me for being so all beautiful and calm and just sitting here. I'm a hunter. I am, there is power there that is not to be mistaken. I quite like that. Look at the squirrel with the chickadees. Come on. This is too funny because the keyword is always prepared. We have a oak tree that's outside of my apartment. It's a big old one. And this year, the year that I moved in here, and then they're always active, but the year I moved in here and then this year, these squirrels are so busy. There are tons of acorns this year, which I hope doesn't mean that we're going to have a really rough winter, but there are tons of acorns all on the ground. They're continually being dropped and or thrown out of the tree by squirrels onto my car, and I can hear it from inside, but they are so set about being prepared, and they don't much give way. Isabel loves to chase after them, and they get up just so high where she can't reach them, and then they chitter at her and flick their tail and stuff. It's pretty fun. So anyways, I like this idea of being prepared. the grace of the swan. I mean, look at that beautiful iris. What an absolutely beautiful flower and coloration to pick to go alongside of because a lot of painting white, is actually painting grays and even purples, pale purples and grays to make the nuances of white. So I just think that's beautiful composition wise. Here we have a beautiful tiger. I love that it's fire. Tiger, burning bright or something like that. Isn't that one of the... anyways, ignore me. But I do like this idea of fire, even though they're showing a white tiger and a full-colored tiger. There was this idea of passion and being unstoppable. I would not want to have a tiger bearing down on me because I do think it's probably an unstoppable force. And then here's our other magical animal. We do have a unicorn. Some people absolutely love them. I love that these, while we do have the butterflies here of transformation, there's no rainbows. They do actually look like horses with horns, which is beautiful. Infinite possibilities. You are the sovereign of the seen and unseen worlds. The magic of love surrounds you. Beauty transforms you. Listen to the spirit of light. Abandon the darkness. Go beyond the ordinary and become the legendary. So I do think that's quite beautiful. And then of course a white stag. I mean, especially if you do anything with Celtic lore, the concept of the white stag is such a powerful one. And even if you don't, I mean, come on, Bambi's father, you just think of him standing there so regal and so majestic and powerful. There's another protector energy. I do think there's actually a couple, which makes sense, I suppose, with animal spirits. These are energies that are coming forward for guidance and protection. So that doesn't bother me as much as it might in a different style deck, but I am going to take a look at that. But this is that idea of the old soul. Whoops. And then, of course, my beautiful wolf. I have to pull out the bears, too. To go along, but yeah, I'm very, very pleased with my two main, and then obviously I think bears would actually be the oldest, but I'm very much in love with that, and I love it as the Pathfinder. So gorgeous. So let me pull out, let's just see. I had a couple questions, so I've got a couple little piles. Let me come back in a second. Okay, so let me zoom back out here. I've got a little bit, as always, end up with a bit of a mess. But these would be the energies that I certainly work with. Although, again, visually, this would really be the threesome for me. Just because in my dreams and such, she appears as quite large, more like a grizzly looking than the black bear. But I do love the guardian aspect of this keyword of the brown bear, and then there is also the polar bear as well. But in terms, I thought this was actually protection, but it is guardian. Then you do have protector with the white stag, which again, the white stag has so many other connotations besides just that. And then you do have the protection of the sea turtle. But I do think these, at least this is different than these in that this almost has that connotation of being your own protection and having your own protection built in. What are your own personal boundaries and ways of setting up your protection that is part and parcel to who you are, because that is literally, the shell is part of this animal. So for me, that is different energy. So then you have this protector, which I see this as more that archetypal, almost like what you would think of as a lion, and certainly in, I think, Celtic and other places in which they don't have lions, this idea of the white stag as that protective. So for example, in my charm casting set, I have a charm for every one of the Lenormand cards, and I haven't come across a bear charm that I have liked very much, but I have a stag head that I use for that bear because that energy is very similar to me as well. So that is a protector. And then this guardian has, just because of the image here, you do have a little bit more of a sense of that nurturing guardianship, like the mother energy that you often find in a Lenormand bear. So These don't bother me as much, because I do think a lot of animal energy, when we're accessing it through spirit and through totem energy, is there to be protective. But look at these. Look at how gorgeous these are. Yes, absolutely love that. Okay, so other piles I have, there's two that are supernatural, as you would say, or mythological as well. I quite like these. I would certainly be leaving these in. Obviously, it would be no problem whatsoever to leave out. There's no numbers on them. You can leave out whatever just doesn't resonate with you. So I wouldn't, if you, there was some talk about people not loving unicorns, which I'm the same way, but this to me I love because it looks like a horse with a horn. How I think a unicorn would look. There's not, you know, it's not pooping rainbows or anything like that. And so it's got the moon energy that's really powerful. It's got that transformative. I love that going beyond the ordinary and becoming the legendary. It's beautiful. So I will be leaving both of these in, but there are these two there, and then there is the one wild card, which I think actually could be quite powerful if it showed up in a reading. The other pile I was starting was a cat pile because Patrick likes cats, and he asked how many cats type things were in there. So here's the personal choice one. So again, these are all, you know, personal choices. You could always leave those out should you choose, but I think these are stunning. Let me kind of clear my space, and then we will do a reading with these. Although I don't think I would personally, I have an animal spirit reading that I do that I will obviously be also excited to use this one for. But I do sometimes pull 4 animal spirits for the 4 elements, and in that part of life, what animal kind of stepping forward to work with a person. And then I have an overarching animal energy that is much a longer term pulled one. That's probably the most animals that I pull in a particular reading. And so they're very specific. So for example, I will have, you know, one for fire, and that is energy of passion and creativity. What animal's energy is stepping forward to aid a person in that? In earth, what animal is stepping forward to aid in terms of groundedness and these types of things. So that to me works really well. I doubt I would ever pull more than that. Even say like a 5 card, although I have, because I've done the 4, but that always is related to the elements. So anyways, we'll talk about that in 1 second. I had to pause and take a picture. But this is, there is a lovely woman, and I will put her Etsy shop in the description box. I purchased a, or she probably has it written on here, Lotus and Nightshade. But you can purchase stones that she has painted for totem animals, but you can also, you know, request a specific one and purchase a custom one. But I asked her before I purchased it, I was like, is there any way to get 3 in? Because a lot of times it was like 1, sometimes maybe 2. And so I was like, is there any way you could work, you know, all 3 in on 1 stone? This stays on my working space. And so she did this beautiful, I've shown this before, but you know, it's hard to not bring this out when this is happening. But she did this beautiful bear silhouette. And then you have, of course, the beautiful moon, the wolf head, and the raven. Isn't that gorgeous? So I was just so thrilled because she kind of set me back sort of a concept to see if it would, you know, if it would work. And I think, and I just love how the, you know, the wolf's fur also works really well as the legs of the bear. So yeah. This makes me so happy. Okay, stop playing. And of course you can see bear and wolf and crow, raven. They're both energies that I work with. I know that crows and ravens are not the same. They are, from my understanding, all part of a larger family of corvids. I don't think it's exactly corvids, but it's like corvidae or corvidae or something like that. But that's a larger, that does include crows and ravens. as well as some other types as well. At least in the North America where I live, you can tell the difference between crows and ravens by their size. Ravens around, at least around here, are quite a bit larger than crows. Crows often flock together. I have had experience with 2 ravens that were very powerful because they just their size, and it was just a really powerful experience. But there's definitely a difference between the 2, but they're both energies that I work with. Anyways, so there we have it. I'm babbling now. So let's try to give these a shuffle. Now these are large, as I said, compared to even, you know, like a blue angel. It is, you know, when you start to get larger, becomes a certain point in which it gets really hard to reach your finger to be able to grab it. And it's okay if you're trying to grab one card, but when you're trying to grab a whole section of cards and try to shuffle them, that is, for me, and I have long fingers, that is too large. So that's when you want to corner or side shuffle. I feel like Ethany is the queen of the corner shuffle. As I was saying before the phone interrupts me for the 20th time, I love watching Ethany corner shuffle because she does it like a pro. Yeah, she is a pro. But it's a great way to shuffle. Now, sometimes you can do a full side depending on how flexible the deck is. The only thing that I will say is that I would tend to just drop it more than bend it, because it doesn't always bend back as well down the middle. But see, you can just drop it. It's not like you're even having to bend anything, and you can get a really good shuffle if you're like me and others who do like a nice blend. So you can just drop it. You're not bending your cards. You can bend them, and there are some decks I do I'm more bendy with, but you can actually do a full-on like riffle corner-wise. So just because a deck is big doesn't mean you can't, especially if it's a little bit thinner stock, it's a lot easier to do that. And then of course you can overhand, but I will say for someone with small hands, this might be a little difficult to even straight up overhand. But means for gorgeous, gorgeous images. And that's what I like. So there's a full 9 card, as I showed you on that paper. I couldn't even fit that, obviously, in my space. I don't even know if I can do a cross. I'll show you how I mostly would use something like this, and how I use a lot of my animal decks. Either it's just to pull at the end of a reading to bring in animal energy, or at the beginning of a reading. So that's one way that I will do it, just to see, okay, what animal energy is showing up for this reading in support of this particular reading in this particular situation. That's a great way to use an animal deck. The other way is I might split and either pull here on this side. This could be the overarching, for whatever the situation that the person is getting the reading for. This is an overarching animal that is going to just sort of work with them and walk with them overall. And then, as I said, pull a card for fire. So having the penguin show up, and this idea of authenticity, this idea of being who you are outside of other people's expectations, in the way that you work creatively, in the way that you follow your passions, in the way that you move forward and create and express yourself, doing so authentically. That's beautiful. Then in the position, for me it goes fire, air, water, then earth. So in the position of air, we have perseverance in the mind, right? So depending on the situation, there could be a lot of struggle going on in the mind. Certainly in personal readings, my war ground is generally in my brain. And so having this idea of perseverance, and this idea of endurance, and this idea of holding your ground in the way that you think. So you're being authentic in the way that you create. You're holding your ground in the way that you think. Then for water, having my beloved which is at the heart, right? The Pathfinder, having wolf energy there to guide you in your way, to teach you to find the ways through, to find your secret power, which is in your heart and in your emotions, is so beautiful. And then in the realm of earth. Isn't that beautiful? Because you think of earth as being grounded, but you think of those pounding hoofs of horse or bison. I have a lot of dreams of buffalo type energy, just with that thunderous, because there's a card in the, I have a card in the Mystical Shaman that is this thunderous buffalo. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like buffalo that are running. And also in another animal deck, there's a buffalo that follows me around. And so you just think of that sound of the earth shaking, that it is just of a herd of horses. So even when your feet are solid to the ground, there can be that energy of freedom, and making sure that your everyday life, your work life, these things that you allow yourself the freedom to run, and to that in allowing that freedom in those more rooted, grounded areas, that allows you to accomplish the things that you want to be able to accomplish. So this is generally how I use animal energies, just because I have a reading that is based off of this construct. And then over all of this is keeping your sense of nobility, keeping your sense of humility, that is still rooted and grounded and strong, that you can be powerful and still be humble. And so that energy would be working over all areas of your life, with these kind of focusing in and coming in to work in more individual and specific ways. So that is the, and then you can layer this with tarot. So I think with my animal spirit reader, there's actually a tarot card that addresses that particular part of that person's life. And then, okay, here's the energy that's going to work with you in that, and so on and so forth. So you can layer that on with a tarot deck to give you some insight into what's going on in their earth or in their emotions and things. And then here's the animal spirit that's going to come forward and help to support and guide them in that area. So that's generally what I do with I have lots of animal decks, as you all know probably who follow me, and that's generally how I use them. But there is, let's see what we can, let's just look. I don't even know that we could get a 5 card in here. A little bit if we kind of cross the frog. Look at, see how my wolf is loving to show up here. You could also do, they have a directional, so if it's for these big of cards, I would probably be doing a north, south, east, and west like this. And then a lot of times the last card is spirit or source. Let's see what theirs is here. So 5 card, yeah, and spirit within. So you could kind of do your directions and then lay down your spirit, or just kind of lay spirit off to the side if you have a smaller space. So this is often how I would do, especially if I was using this deck, what I would use. So south card for the creator energy, west card for the emotional energy, north card for wisdom teacher, and we missed the east, actually starting here with a new beginning. So you're going to go around this way. Usually with Native American things, you're going to start north, or east, south, west, and north, going around. And then this being sort of that inner space. So, I mean, that's a beautiful way to use this as well. I personally wouldn't go to the 9 card with this large of cards, and even just with animal cards in general. I know there is some basis for us having a certain number. I think I've seen 7 before, which I think is what hers is based on, and then you have above and a below card. So I've definitely heard that. But it's just a large number. I don't generally work with oracle cards with that many oracle cards in general, and in terms of animal, it just makes sense to me to work within the different areas of our lives, and then that overarching energy. So, I mean, these are beautiful, whoops, wrong way. These are just beautiful cards. I am very pleased. I cannot believe, I'm just too used to pulling them this way. I can't believe I didn't know about this deck, because like I said, I really love her art, and so it surprises me that I didn't even know about this. I knew that there was an Animal Spirit one coming out, but that there's a Colette Baron Reed one that's coming out in the fall. I believe maybe in October. I have to check in on it. So I guess I was so focused on that I didn't realize that there were that this one was coming out, and I'm so happy. See, so for this one, you would pause, close your eyes, take a moment, go step into the woods and see who you're going to meet. So you could either leave that in or take it out, whatever, however it suits you. For now, I'll leave it in and see how it kind of comes up in readings. But, you know, one of the nice things is about animal decks, if you've worked with a lot of animal decks, a lot of energy of animals, it's really easy to just pop into any deck because they're generally similar animals. There's never going to be all the animals that you want in a deck. There will always be somebody that's like, oh, why didn't it have, you know, X, Y, and Z? I would have loved there to have been spider energy in here. But, you know, there's just no way to make a deck that will cover all of the animals of the world. So that's just the nature of the beast. But it's just lovely because even though this is obviously somebody else's depictions, I've worked with bee, bear, all of these animals are animals I've worked with in other decks and in study. And so it's so easy to pick up just different depictions of these animals and start working with it right away. So, okay, I'm going to stop babbling. I'm just really excited about this beautiful deck. I hope you enjoyed this, and this is why I don't often, I'm like, oh, you know, this deck is next on the list, but then, you know, I get another deck that I'm so excited to take a look at it, because I generally don't use a deck until after I have taken a look at it with you all, and so then everything gets out of whack and out of order, and this is why that happens. So have an absolutely wonderful day.